Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Sugar Free Self Care TV. So, in today's episode, let me ask you a question. Are you bored out of your mind? Like going crazy with this COVID situation? And are you eating when you're bored? If you answered yes to both those questions, you are in luck because I have a sugar cravings specialist here on the show. Her name is Pim Jansson. And yes, we both coach people on how to end your cravings for sugar. And so I love having different people on the show to offer their different perspectives on the same topic. And I think what she says is just so meaningful and so helpful for any of you who struggle with overeating when you're bored, overeating when you're cooped up in your home. And we hear you guys. We feel your pain. And so we want to help. So, anyway, a little bit more about Pim. She's a nutritionist, biomedical scientist, personal trainer, and a certified life coach, and a sugar addict in recovery. So she knows what it's like. She knows what it's like to crave these foods that you guys are all struggling with, myself included. We've all been through that craving struggle. All right. So I can't wait to have Pim to join me here. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think about the episode. So this will be a two-part episode. This will be the first one on how to eat when you're bored during the quarantine. And then the next one will also touch more on emotional eating during the quarantine. All right. Let's start this interview now.
Hi everyone, this is Charmaine and I'm Pim, and we're both quitting sugar coaches. Hey!
Woohoo!
We're gonna have some fun conversations here, I hope. So,
Oh, yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about what sort of work you do?
Sure. So hello, I'm Charmaine. So I'm from Los Angeles and I'm a sugar cravings coach. So as Pim said, we help people quit eating sugar. But the way that we approach this, especially what I like to help my clients is to basically live a low carb, sugar free lifestyle without feeling deprived. Because I'm very big on, like, I love the keto lifestyle. I've been keto since 2018 of January, but I want to help people sustain it so it's a lifestyle change. And you could do that in a non depriving, non restrictive way.
Yay! I think that's good. Awesome. So, if you need to quit sugar and you don't want to do it with me, I think you should do it with Charmaine. No, we agree. Yeah. No,
Okay.
seriously, quit sugar because it's not good for you in any sort of way. And we're both doing the low carb thing. We're both sort of carnivore-ish, although I'm not fully carnivore. I do eat some blueberries and stuff and, that sort of thing. But we're both for a meat-based diet, I think. So
Mhm.
did you want to start with your question or discussion topic?
Yeah,
Okay.
you want,
Yeah.
I could pick one
Yeah.
from the list.
Okay, go on then.
Okay, awesome. So, as we know, we are all cooped up in our homes. We're all cooped
Yep.
up, and something that a lot of people have been asking me, which has been really a big topic that I've heard lately, is like a lot of people are just snacking a lot at home and they don't know how to manage their cravings, especially for sugar, when they're seeing the sugar in front of them all the time at home. So we were, so I get asked that a lot, like, how do you actually, like, people know, like, people already know that sugar isn't good for us and things like that, but how do we actually apply this to our daily lives where the sugar's in front of us and we don't eat that stuff in the moment?
Yeah. So what do we do when we're cooped up? So I think it's a matter of boredom. So I don't know. I've said this many times, but I never realized that I was an emotional eater. I thought emotional eating was for people that basically they would eat lots and lots of sugar or pizza or whatever when they were upset, or you know something has happened in their life. And I never tend to eat because of, if someone dies, or I'm going to the extreme case. I don't tend to go to food, so I never realized that I was an emotional eater. But I always go to food when I'm bored, when I'm procrastinating, or when maybe if I'm feeling overwhelmed or that I feel restless. That's my go-to, and those are emotions as well. And I think a lot of people now, when we are locked up, we have nothing to do, or we think that we have nothing to do. We're going to be bored, and our thoughts are going to go to food over and over again because we have nothing better to do. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
think, anyway. I know that some people actually ask in my Facebook group, and some people seem to do really, really well. And I was surprised, but some people are like me. They think about food when they're bored, and they tend to want to snack, etc. And it's really easy to start snacking on good foods, and then you get into the habit of doing that. And the longer you go, you need that dopamine hit a little bit more, and you're going to go into more of the naughty stuff, and eventually you are just falling off the wagon and you're back into all these old habits. So yeah, I think what we need to do is find something that is meaningful to do in our lives. You have an opportunity here. Some people might be working from home, other people are not working from home. Hopefully, if you're not, you are at least being paid so that you don't have to worry about that. But even if you do, what can you do to make the situation better? The answer is not sugar, I can promise you that. So what do you want to achieve during this lockdown? Some people are going to just lay on the sofa, eat all day, watch Netflix. Where
Mm-hmm.
some people are going to seize this opportunity and just, almost supercharge it and go all out and do whatever they need to do to get to their goal, whatever that is. And if you want to do that, then you can focus on something else. It doesn't have to be food related. It can be, business related, building your own business, whatever it is. And you just need to focus on that and make that your priority. And I don't think sugar has any place in that, personally. What do you think?
Right. I mean, it's so true. Well, when you're talking about the emotional eating, first of all, it's so true how I feel like when we're bored, we're kind of going to food to solve a problem. And that's kind of what I coach my clients a lot on. It's like if you're finding that you're going to food to solve something that is like something that you kind of want to get rid of right away, or some kind of problem like boredom, or yeah, let's just stick with that. Like if you want to solve the boredom but with food, I help them see that it's not actually solving anything, like you're saying. It's just kind of like the problem's still there. You
Yeah.
feel better temporarily in the moment, but it's not actually helping you become a problem solver. You're just staying in the same problem, but now you have that temporary,
Oh, yeah.
that false pleasure, that temporary relief, but it's not actually helping the situation. So something I like to tell people is kind of like to ask yourself when you're wanting to, when you have maybe that feeling of boredom and you want to go find food, it's just like I have them focus on, okay, like what is actually going on, like what do I want to solve right now, and how can I solve that without food,
Yes.
so that it could really help you just actually work towards something instead of just staying in the same situation with a little bit of relief in the moment.
That's so good. So I'm bored. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm sitting here and I'm going crazy. How do I solve this problem if I can't use food? What would
Well,
you tell
you
me? What would you tell
so
me if I'm your client?
yeah, so great. So I love this. So it's just like, yeah, you tell me, what would you do? Like what else can you do if just let's just imagine I came to your place, threw out everything, threw out all the food. What would you do
What would I
to
do?
occupy your time?
What if I would go and watch Netflix? I'm just being difficult.
You could. And the thing is, what I'm curious about is like, okay, what is the actual problem here? Like what are you not feeling comfortable with in the moment.
Yeah. I'm not feeling comfortable not knowing, not being able to go out and do the things that I usually do. So it's a disruption in my life, my, how I usually go around doing things, my habits, weekly habits, I guess. Let's say, because we usually go out kayaking and doing that sort of thing on the weekends, and now I can't even do that. So then I have a lot of time when I'm forced to be inside, pretty much, or here, and I can't do what I would like to do. So I want to feel good, I guess. I miss that dopamine hit that I would get from being out in nature and kayaking. And how do I get there? I will get there with food.
Yeah, because here's the thing. It's like when you're out kayaking, what does that feel like to you? Like what feeling does that activity give you?
Freedom. We don't get that in the quarantine.
Yeah, definitely not. I agree with you there. You're in your home, but the thing is, some people, the interesting thing is like not everyone gets freedom from kayaking,
No,
right?
of course.
So I personally think it's a lot of work, but that's just my personal opinion. I think that's great. Other people enjoy that, but that's the thing. It's like when you want freedom from something, just notice like, it's the same with food. Like when we eat, we kind of want to change a state. Like we just want to change how we're feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
And so can you think, at least guess, maybe if there's anything you could possibly do at home that might help you give you at least a little sense of freedom that doesn't have to do with food?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of things that I could do. I could actually go for a walk. I could go and play with my dogs. I could spend some quality time with my partner. Some people now in my house, this wouldn't actually apply because the bath that we have is very shallow. But if I had a proper bath, I could probably go for a hot bath. That is quite kind of relaxing, makes you feel good. But there are obviously things that I could be doing, absolutely. And making more YouTube videos or whatever.
Yeah.
It's usually quite fun. Talk to
Yeah,
you.
you make great videos, by the way.
There you
Make
go.
awesome videos. But yeah, you see how once you limit yourself with that language, like I can't do this, I can't do that. It really just limits those possibilities.
Yes.
So I always tell my clients, you got to ask yourself more empowering questions that actually can help you solve the situation, the problem in the moment.
Yes.
So when you start asking yourself, what is the feeling I want? How else can I have that feeling without food? Your possibilities are much more open and you have a much better time of solving it versus thinking of how limited you are and how stuck you are.
So you see why I love this girl? She's awesome. That is such a good answer. But yes, just don't think about what you can't do. Think about what you can do, because that's so important.
I actually, just a side note, I do tell my clients there's like 5 forbidden like bad words,
Awesome.
bad phrases they can't say, and actually that's one of them. Like I can't,
Yeah.
or this is hard. Like that's one of the ones I tell them, you're forbidden. You can't say that at all, like ever.
But
never
you
allow
can say
yourself
that
to
they
say
can't
it.
say.
Huh?
You can say that they can't say.
Yeah, only I'm allowed.
Yeah. That's good. No, but that's really good. I think that's what we have to focus on, what we can do, because we can't really change the situation as such. I mean, if you are for going out into a demonstration or whatever, sure, you can do that. But at the moment, the situation is as it is, and we can't really do anything about that. So think about what you have power over and what you can change in your life to make it better.
Right. And that's where the momentum comes from, because then you're actually taking action, and then you're feeling a lot better than feeling guilty about the snack you ate.
Exactly.
That doesn't feel very fun.
That's not fun at all. It feels awful, I promise you. Okay, so just because I know that it's a pet, a hate, pit, peeve, whatever you want to call it, of us both. I think the topic on avoiding trigger foods or triggers in general.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk a little bit about that, now the sun comes out and makes my screen
Whew.
cringe.
Oh man, I get riled up with this.
Yeah, a lot of you have probably heard me talk about that. I don't think you should be avoiding trigger foods because we need to be realistic and live in the real world. So I want to hear your take on that.
Right. And just like we were kind of saying in our conversation earlier, a lot of experts on sugar addictions will recommend things like, you got to get rid of the food, you got to throw it away. But like you said, um, it could help temporarily. And I do know some people who have really strong addiction, so it could be helpful like in that moment. But when you are in social situations, or even if you're seeing people on Zoom eating those foods, it doesn't actually like avoiding the trigger will still it will still stimulate that neural pathway that wants the food, because you actually haven't solved the root of the problem. Like
Yes.
it's kind of like I teach people James Clear's habit loop. He teaches this in his book Atomic Habits, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
he calls it the habit loop. And so you have a cue, like the trigger, right? And then the trigger will make you have a craving, and then the craving will cause you to do a response, and then the response will lead to a reward. And so if you only eliminate the trigger, the craving isn't actually solved. Like
Mm.
you could still have the craving when the trigger comes up, and the trigger will
Yes.
come up, I guarantee, in your future. I could see your future now. You'll see it in your vacations, your work parties, your holidays. Ooh, holidays. So you got to actually work on what's causing the craving to begin with.
Yeah. And you need to change the neural pathway and program a different response to when you have those cravings, because no matter what, they're not going to be as frequent probably, but they're probably going to turn up for the rest of your life. And if you just have reprogrammed your brain to respond a different way, it's not going to be a problem, is it? You're going
Right.
to be fine. It's not easy to do, and it takes some resolution and it takes some time and
Mm-hmm.
some, a will to actually want to do that, because it's not comfortable. But once you have done it, you have done it. And if you have done the job well enough, it will be automatic. And that's what we want
Right.
to strive towards. I think that's brilliant. Thank you. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you said, I think the only time I would recommend that people do remove triggers is in the beginning when they just have quit, because it might be too much to sit in front of a chocolate cake and try to not touch it the first week when you're quitting sugar. I mean, we don't have to torture ourselves, but we can stay away from those and start learning that new behavior. And when we do, and we feel in control, we can reintroduce things into our lives, and then eventually we will be able to actually function in a society that is full of those triggers everywhere.
Right. Right. And I do actually teach that to my clients. Like our first week together, I actually have them do a kitchen decluttering process. So
Okay.
it's kind of like you're prepping yourself, like you're kind of priming yourself to let go of the food that isn't serving you anymore. And I call it the thank and let go ritual. So when they go get the jar of cookies or whatever, and they're ready to throw it away, I kind of like tell them, this is a completed relationship, like you're done here. So at least it's kind of like, you know you acknowledge that was there in your life, and then you're starting a new chapter, so
Nice.
that you're kind of making room for the new habits. So I literally tell them, like, at the trash can, you have to say, like, thank you, cookies, um, you know, for blah blah blah, for serving me, and blah blah blah. this relationship is now complete, and then they throw it away.
Buy cookies.
Bye.
Oh, that would be so hard because I would really be inclined to, I've always been doing it every time I quit sugar in the past. It's like I'm gonna eat everything that is in the house and then I'm going to start. So that is a powerful thing to do, and I think very, very painful for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because the guilt with wasting food comes in too.
God, yes. Yeah.
So that's like two things. It's like, oh, the sugar, and then, oh, the
Yeah.
wasting. The
Yeah.
wasting.
I hate wasting. I feel awful doing that, and I still do that, even though I've been I've been actually coaching clients on it that have overcome it. But I don't feel like I've totally overcome that one myself. Any type of food is why a lot of people might be just eating the egg yolks because they're more nutritious, and I'm like, I can't waste the white. I'm gonna eat the whole egg. That
Ah.
I'm just not wasting food, and especially not if it's coming from an animal, because I feel like we should honor the animal. We should eat the whole animal. It makes me feel more better or more justified in what I'm doing, to not be so choosy. But whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Right, so I think that you, just like me, are for planning whatever we are eating, making sure that you have a plan and then you follow that plan. And if you're gonna make an exception and you're gonna have, go to a birthday party and you do want to be normal as such and have a piece of cake, you need to plan that in advance and be in control of what you're doing. You know exactly when you're gonna have this cake, how much you're gonna eat, and you're only gonna do it on that day, on that occasion, etc. So what do we do if this plan fails? So I can tell you what an example I had a while back. I think I actually made a video on that. And I had planned to have ice cream tomorrow. And my plan was to have it after dinner. And I bought a tub of ice cream and I would allow myself to eat as much as possible. So this is the first mistake I made, was that I didn't set the time limit for myself. After dinner was my time limit. So I started out this morning, I was doing all right, but then I went to buy the ice cream quite early, and my thoughts were like, oh, I'm gonna eat ice cream today. And then I thought, oh, I'll just have a little taste before dinner. And that taste went into 3 tastes, I think. And then I thought, oh, now I'm cheating. That's not good. So I'm going to have an early dinner. So I had my dinner really early. And then I just kept eating ice cream the whole evening. And that wasn't exactly what I had planned. I mean, I had planned to have ice cream that day, but not under those circumstances.
Right.
So what do we do when we start kind of bending the rules as such? What would you tell your clients?
After the fact already?
Yeah, so I did this. What would you tell me if I was your client? Like, what did I do wrong? How could I change that in the future so I'm not doing that again?
Okay. So the first thing I would say is to basically, first of all, forgive yourself. I mean, it I feel like when we eat off plant, because I know this is a very personal thing for me too, because when I was doing the weight loss tools on myself, I would plan, and I'm very perfectionist. Like, if I don't do the plan like it's supposed to be, then I will be very tough on myself. So the first part that I always teach my clients is really just like, nothing has gone wrong here. What happened, like, it's in the past, we cannot change it.
Yeah.
So first, having that compassion for what happened, and then just looking at it curiously, just kind of going through, like, first saying, like, okay, like, in order to look at this and make sure this doesn't happen in the future, if this is something you want to change, we have to go back and just look at what drove this, and then I teach them about how your feelings, whatever feeling you have, is what drives you to take an action. So I would have them just look back on it and really be curious, like, what were you feeling that made you want to get the ice cream? And things like that. And then we would really go into that. Like what was that feeling like for you? And then why were you feeling that way? And really get to the root cause of it. Um, so that, sorry, so
That's all
get to the
right.
root cause of it so that you'll know, like, in the future that there's a thought behind it. Like there's something you were thinking that drove you to do all that. Because like in the moment it seems so sudden, right? Like it just seems like an automatic sort of thing, but we got to think of it like, okay, what was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back because it was a while ago now, but I think what was going through my head is like, I'm going to eat this ice cream anyway, so it doesn't matter if I'm
Mm,
starting already. I think that's probably what was going on in my head. It doesn't matter. It's going to be
yeah.
easy, but it does matter in terms of knowing that I'm in control, that my brain can be in control, and I can actually do what I'm saying that I'm going to do. And that matters a lot, because if you don't believe that you can follow your own rules, it's not going to go the right way. I know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It doesn't feel good at all when you know you say you'll do something and then you kind of break that commitment to yourself.
Yeah, and it's interesting how we always do that to ourselves, because if I'm telling someone else I'm going to do something, I will go through hell to make sure that I'm doing it. And if I really can't do it, sure, I will talk to them, but this is why I can't do it. But I will do a lot more to keep my promises to other people than I do to myself. And I don't think I'm alone. I think that's most of us.
I think all my clients have brought that up to me actually. And I think yeah, it's so true. It's like I feel like I've heard probably all of them say, especially if they're kind of like I tend to attract a lot of really like ambitious overachieving women for some reason.
Yeah.
So like they're really like, I want to help everyone else first, and then when it comes to me, for some reason I just can't figure it out.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that? Can we look at ourselves as another person that we need to keep a promise to? Can we kind of twist our mind around that and just, what do you think?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the thing I do say though, like I always tell people, like the way we eat is always about our relationship with ourselves.
Mm.
Like I always go off like starting the weight loss journey kind of like saying, hey, like this really, like I know you want to lose weight and I think that's great and that you want to be healthy, but what I'm going to teach you isn't actually about weight loss. It's really
Yeah.
about learning about your relationship with yourself, because it's all about, you know, first of all, having goals that you want, like having things that you want for yourself, you know, being okay with wanting things for yourself,
Yeah.
and then learning how to honor those personal goals you have. And so I always tell them, every single time you follow through in what you say you do, you're building that trust with yourself.
Yes.
You have that rapport, and you'll know. Oh, sorry, my sisters are calling. Okay, but yeah, every single time you follow through on a plan, you're building that trust with yourself, and so I kind of frame it in that way, because it's just kind of like, um, you know, if you make a plan and you don't follow through, it's kind of like you're showing up for a date, and then the date just flakes on you. They don't show up,
Yeah.
and so that's like what you're doing to yourself. So I kind of frame it in that way. It's just kind of like I don't like to really compare like, oh, why is it that I focus so much more on everyone else instead of me? I kind of more focus on like, what is your relationship with yourself? You know,
Yes.
like what is there even a relationship? Like, you know, and that's what I get curious about.
That's good. That's really good. I love it. Can we do one more question, or do you have to run?
Yes.
Yes, one more. Okay, so why do you think that is, that so many of us just can't stop eating sugar? Everyone keeps saying, oh yeah, I need to stop, I should be stopping, I want to stop, and we don't. What's going wrong here? What's the problem? Because some people
Ooh.
don't understand it. Some people just like, well, why don't you just stop? And those people clearly don't have a problem with sugar.
Right. Oh man, that's a good question. So like it's like, oh man, there's so many things I feel like I could say. Well, the main thing I always tell people is like we're basically wired to eat sugar. Like our brains evolutionarily are designed to be sugar magnets because having that strong desire for these kind of foods, which in the past would help us like gain more fat and have more energy and things like that. It's kind of like a evolutionarily ingrained instinct that we have. And so I always tell people it's not your fault that you you want sugar. It's just you being a human and nothing's wrong with you. You have a normal functioning brain. um, the only thing that's tricky is when you bring that brain to modern day society and all the foods are accessible. We don't have to hunt anymore. We don't have to like, forage or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where, that's where you have to realize like, okay, you know, I have this natural desire for sugar because of survival, and how to distinguish, that planning part of our brain. How do we access that part of our brain more than the very survival based like primitive part of our brain?
Yeah. So how do we do that?
So so yeah, like we touch upon that. So I
Yeah.
tell people, planning is definitely the first thing. Having a plan, having your plan 24 hours in advance. I tell people always have a protein, veggie, and healthy fat that you have to eat, that you want to eat each meal. Plan it 24 hours in advance and make those decisions from a place that's very goal oriented. It's like in alignment with your goals. And then in the moment, you have to be good at distinguishing what part of your brain is like your planning brain and what part is like the primitive one. And I know this sounds a little woo-woo-ish, but
Mm.
basically you have to be able to know, like there's two voices in our brains that
Yes.
are running off all day, and we have to be very good at knowing which one is guiding our decisions in the moment.
Yeah.
And we got to decide, like, am I going to go with what I plan, or am I going to go with what I want in the moment? And you
Yeah.
always got to go with what you planned, and just practicing that muscle
Yes.
without 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 letting that reactive part of your brain kind of rule your life, kind of.
Yeah, and I think that's where the awareness is coming in, because if you're not aware of what's going on in your head, if you're not aware of these two different voices telling you different things, you're always going to go with the one that tells you to eat the sugar. But when you
Yes.
start actually noticing what's going on, and you actually do have an inner dialogue between those two voices, and you have to make a decision, when you notice that, it's actually, I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's kind of easy to make the decision to listen to your rational part of the brain and follow your plan, because you can hear that voice and you know that it's there. But a lot of the time we can't choose to go unconscious and just like, oh, I didn't notice because I was unconscious and I just went with what felt good in the moment. So
Right.
just being aware of what's going on, constantly questioning what your brain is telling you and why it's telling you that, is probably a very good idea, so that you know what's going on. So every time, I mean, it's a little bit of a curse almost, because every time now that I eat sugar, and especially if I haven't planned for it, if I'm just failing,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm so aware of what I'm doing. I have no excuse anymore. I just know that, okay, today I just didn't care, and I made that
Mm-hmm.
decision. I don't beat myself up about it, but I am aware of what I'm doing. And that is just one of the steps that you have to take. Some people get past that step fairly quickly. A lot of people might be struggling with it, but it's something that we all have to kind of do and get past and get used to always doing and always listening to, and think every time you're about to do something that you know that you don't want to do, start listening to what's going on. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's the tricky part too. Like when you're aware though, and you are saying those things like, I'm aware of this, but I still want to decide to eat this thing in the moment. Um, that I think still though, just also being mindful that it's still a decision to not honor your plan,
Yes.
and you just gotta kind of explore that. Like why is this moment more meaningful to me than my goals? Like
Yes.
what's
Yeah.
what's going on there? Um, because I think our brains are very sneaky, especially if we are very smart, and it will come up with the sneakiest ways to justify some decisions sometimes. So I think really having that practice of like when you make the plan and you follow it no matter what that brain says, because Tony Robbins even says like you cannot negotiate with your brain. Like never negotiate with your brain, because if it's survival focused, it will always win.
Hmm.
So it's kind of that practice too of like, can I be okay with the chatter? Like, can I listen to that chatter but not like entertain it?
Yeah. And you bring up a really good point there that whenever it's about survival, the part of the brain that is for the survival will win if you actually negotiate with it. And that is exactly what it is. This part of the brain is there for a reason, and that is for our survival. It will do anything it can to make everything that we
Mm-hmm.
do more efficient, including eating high energy foods, things and do things that makes you feel good, which means being lazy, not moving, eating foods, doing anything. This is why people are cheating, because cheating in any aspect of life, because we don't want to do things that are uncomfortable and that takes more energy. So you can't negotiate with that, and that's why you need a plan. So that was a really good uh, point you made, I think. Thank you, Tony Robbins. Okay, I know that you are running short of time, so I'm not going to hold you anymore because your sisters might be might be
I
sad.
know. I was like, oh, it's like
Okay,
our TV watching time online
fair
every
enough.
week.
Okay, but thank you so much for coming on my channel. It was great to have you here. I'm hoping that maybe we can do another one at some point, because there are so many questions, so many aspects of sugar addiction that I think that you and I could discuss, and I would really enjoy doing that.
Oh, me too. Like, I feel like I could talk about this for hours, and I just love that you are also, so passionate about it, and it just makes me so excited. So, I really appreciate that. I was just like, oh my God, it's done already. Like, I was like, that's so short.
Maybe we should just pick one topic and we do one video on each topic, and we do lots of videos together. We put them on both our channels.
Yes, I would love that. Like, I want to repost everything you have
Yeah,
here.
of
That
course.
would be great.
Yeah, I will send it to you. Okay, thank you so much. Mwah. I love you, girl.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
That was so fun.